Welcome back everyone to the Working Class Revolt, and today I want to talk about some comments made by the Reform Deputy Leader Richard Tice. And before I show you this clip, it's probably quite obvious to anyone watching this channel that I voted Reform and I want Reform to become the next government. The comments that Richard Tice makes is in regards to Tommy Robinson and his supporters. Now, I did a video the other day which got a lot of people agreed and it had some criticism that that the right not to have Tommy Robinson as a politician in the party. What I didn't say, which is what Richard Tice says, is that Tommy Robinson's supporters are not good, hard-working people who care about this country, and the majority probably vote the Reform Party. And I also didn't say that Tommy Robinson hasn't been wrong done by. I think he has been very wrong done by. My position was, as a political movement who needs votes across the board, I don't think it would do Reform good. And in Tommy Robinson's defence, I think Tommy Robinson is more of a, how would you describe it? He's more of a campaigner. He's somebody who gets the message out. I wouldn't say Tommy Robinson, he'd probably admit this himself, is somebody who probably wants to go into politics. So by no means was it a criticism. But you know yourselves, in politics, in order to win, you've got to win that middle vote. And my views was that Tommy Robinson being in the party of Reform would lose a lot of those middle votes. But what Richard Tice says next, I think, is a massive, massive mistake on his behalf, and I think he does need to put it right. So please take a look at this clip.
What do you make of Tommy Robinson? Is he a good guy in your eyes?
No. All of that lot, we have nothing to do with them.
Even the protesters who have got banners up saying two-tier Keir, you agree with them on the policing and justice?
We agree with ourselves. I'm not aligning ourselves with Tommy Robinson's lot in any shape or form.
But tell me before we go, you've had a lot of messages, you told me before we came on air, from police officers.
So there we see Richard Tice asked about Tommy Robinson, and I think it's a bit of a defensive comment to start with because he's worried about the criticism, and he says he doesn't want anything to do with Tommy Robinson. I'm paraphrasing, but then he says, or his lot. Now, I have seen video after video now of people uploading who are furious, who voted the Reform Party and will never vote the Reform Party again. So let's get to the bottom of this. When Tommy Robinson holds one of these protests, which by the way have all been peaceful, as far as I can see, they look like very peaceful protests. I think on some occasions nearly 1 million people are holding up British flags. They come across as people who care about the country. I would say of the percentage of those that vote, the majority, and I would say it's going to be a massive percent, voted the Reform UK Party. So when Richard Tice, who I really like Richard Tice, I think he's a brilliant politician, although he's got this one really wrong, says, or his lot, whether he means it or not, and I don't think he does, it comes across as he's talking about those thousands and thousands and thousands of people who come out in support of the message that Tommy Robinson's giving, which is that we have a mainstream media that's corrupt, that we have a two-party system that's corrupt. I think the majority of people agree with that message, whether you like Tommy Robinson or not. So fair enough to say he doesn't want anything to do with Tommy Robinson, if that's how he feels. But to say his lot, I think he has made a massive, massive error. Now, my worry is that the Reform Party won't put this right. They'll feel that they don't have to put it right. And I think that it would be very, very important now for Richard Tice to say he is not on about the people out in the protest who support Tommy Robinson. And let's be honest, Reform's message, he is purely talking about Tommy Robinson. And just on that one, I don't even think that Nigel Farage or Richard Tice have to even criticise Tommy Robinson. You know, they could just literally say what I've just said and say Tommy Robinson's not in politics, he's not part of the Reform Party, and leave it at that. I see the Reform Party as centre-right at best. I don't do the right-left wing. I believe in common sense. I'm a libertarian, so I think that Nigel Farage and the Reform Party are the most party that match libertarian views. Libertarian views is about governing yourselves, making your own mistakes, having your own rights. There's no other political party who can win that hold the same views as the Reform Party. However, the mainstream media has done a very good job of this whole left-right wing. If you now believe in your country looking after itself, if you believe in controlled borders, you are so-called now right-wing. So the people who are on those protests, I don't see as right-wing. Tommy Robinson, if we're going to talk about Tommy Robinson, this is my view on it. I didn't grow up where Tommy Robinson grew up. I didn't see the levels of immigration that Tommy Robinson saw. And I admit I didn't used to be a big fan of Tommy Robinson until I started seeing documentaries of what Tommy Robinson had been through. And I've seen what they're putting him through now. They've just arrested him and sentenced him to 18 months because he has broken order that the court said that he couldn't play a documentary. I watched that documentary and it changed my views. I still stick to the point that I don't think Tommy Robinson should be in Reform UK, but I don't think he's a man that the Reform UK needs to criticise. So in closing, I think that Richard Tice, in order to save thousands and thousands of votes, if not millions, need to nip this in the bud. I'd like to think that Richard Tice thinks he's talking about people around Tommy Robinson that he thinks, not me, but he thinks are more extreme than the Reform Party are maybe, and I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt that he wasn't talking about the tens of thousands of people at the protest. But I say I would like to think it, but Richard Tice needs to come out and explain that. As far as I'm concerned, I'll keep supporting the Reform Party, but I think you must, when you support a party, you can't be too tribal to not criticise them when they do something wrong, because that's the problem we see with the Labour Party and the Conservatives. They do something like the winter fuel payment, and Labour, old age pensioners who are going to struggle, cannot criticise it, or a Labour member whose mum and dad are not going to get the money support the policy because they're so tribal. So I want to have a channel where we talk about when, if Reform make a mistake, we talk about the Reform Party making a mistake. Like I said, in closing, I don't want to see an alliance, but what I do want to see is people who have the same belief about the government and the mainstream media is not going at each other and taking cheap shots. But please let me know what you think. What do you think about the sentencing of Tommy Robinson? I've given my views on that. I think that Tommy Robinson is spreading a message that the mainstream media are frightened to death. What do you think about the possibility of him being in the Reform Party? You may disagree with me thinking he shouldn't be, but what do you think of Richard Tice and what did he mean by his lot? Thank you all very much for watching the video. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.